Hello, welcome to this iOS tutorial, and today I'm going to talk about pointers and type ID. So basically, I want to start here with this line. I think we've used it. If you've watched the other tutorials, we've used lines like this quite a few times. It typically has name of class, right? And then this is the name of your thing, the specific name of the object. And then here we use name of class allocate, and then after allocate, bracket again, initialize. Basically, that's how we make our objects, right? And you see I've separated these two sides, labeled it 1, 2. And what I was going for here is I want you to understand that there's two really different things here. This object, this is the object, and this is actually a pointer, something called a pointer. And what a pointer is it's like an integer. It's just an integer, a string, sort of. But instead of holding a number, it holds a memory location. And in this case, that memory location is going to be the location of what comes after the equal sign. So it's the location of this object. We're really saying, oftentimes we'll refer to the myArray, this, as the object, but it's actually a pointer. And I'm going to illustrate that a little further with an example I have. So we're going to go in here, and you see this line again, the same declaration, right? And I've declared another pointer. This pointer points to something of type string, pointer to string. And look here, I didn't do alloc init, notice. All I did here was I said pointer to string, and I set it to point to the first element of this array, which is 1. And when I do this, it will print what's in the first element of this array, 1. But the thing to understand is there's only one object. There's just two ways to get to it. You can either go to myArray and you can go to 0, the 0 index of that array, and that will point to 1. Or you can go to myString and just dereference that like we did here. And it's the same thing. I just repeat it with 2 down here to make the point. And because there's no object associated with this pointer to string, we can make it point to this string, we can make it point to that string, and then we can perform operations on it. In this case, print it to NSLog. Now, in this case, we're going to make another object, all right? This is a little bit more complicated. But what we're going to do is this line creates an object, and we're going to get the string pointed to by pointer to string, which is going to be, in this case, myArray2, so it's 3. And then we're going to do string by appending string, which is a method on it. And then we're going to give it the argument myArray1, which is 2. So this should print out 3 appended by 2. All right? And this whole thing returns another object. So now we've created another object in an unusual way, and now we're pointing to it with pointer to string. This will also work. Okay? So it's kind of a small chapter here, or small tutorial here, but I really want to emphasize this because I think it's an important point going forward, especially for the next video, so I decided to make it to a video. And for the last part of this, I'm going to go over type ID. Now, ID is really a special command, okay? And basically anything that's type ID means almost any built-in object for Objective-C. So it will not work on C primitives like integers or chars or whatever. But anything that says like NS, string, or UI, table view cell, you can point to it all with something that calls type ID. It basically turns off the strong typing warnings of the compiler. That's the idea. And this gives you flexibility to have a method that deals with many, many different types. If it takes an argument as type ID, then you can do anything. You can take any object, basically, and you can work with it in that method. So it gives you a ton of flexibility. And here what we did was I had this generic ID generic, so it's just an object, another pointer. And note that the syntax, normally there's a star. See, this is the typical C syntax for pointer, is to put a star in front of something. Like if I want to do a pointer in, I put int star name of integer, as opposed to declaring an integer on its own. Okay, and this is the typical format, is to put a star in front of it and then the name. So But in ID, we do not have to do that. It's automatically assumed to be a pointer, even without the star. So ID generic is going to point to the same thing pointer to string points to, which is this thing. And then it's going to print it out. So when we run this, nothing in the view, but when we look down here, we get 1 from there, we get 3 from there, and we do this. We don't print it out directly, but we do ID generic points to that, and we print that out. We print out 3 too. So just basically make sure when you're coding, you're thinking about the difference. Sometimes it's okay to think of it as the same thing as like one object, but to know the difference between pointers and objects is going to be really key from some of the design patterns we see in the later chapters. So that's going to about wrap things up for this tutorial. This has been another iOS tutorial.